Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend after she rejected my proposal twice? Sierra and I, both 29, have been dating for 4 years. I absolutely love her and felt like she was my soulmate. I knew I wanted to propose 2 years into dating, but I decided to wait 1 more year so that I could get in a better situation financially. Last year, I proposed. It was a private proposal on the beach where we went on our first date. She looked at me and said, "I want to marry you, but not right now." She said she wasn't in the right space personally to get engaged and to give her some time. That stung, but I was okay with it. After all, I put off proposing so I can be in a good position. It's only fair I give her the chance. It's been a year since then and I decided to propose again. This time, I asked our friends to help me set it up because I wanted to do something nicer. We orchestrated a nice dinner and a proposal in front of a nice fountain in the city's botanical garden. Everything was ready. Dinner went great and we went to the fountain. She saw the roses and everything, and then I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. She teared up and told me, "Not just yet." That stung really bad. I knew I wanted her in my life forever, but this is the second time she turned me down. I asked her why, and she told me the same thing as last year. I asked her if someone was holding her back, maybe family or friend, and she just said, "I just want to make sure that this will work." This hurt me more than the 2 rejections. So I told her if after 4 years she isn't sure, then what the heck will make her sure? She asked me to give her time, and I told her no. I told her that I'm not gonna keep wasting my time and love if she's gonna keep saying no. I told her that I can't do this anymore. She began begging me not to leave and said, "Fine, I'll marry you, just please don't go." That made me mad, but I didn't say anything and just left. My phone has been blowing up with some of our friends, her parents and her, telling me that I'm an a-hole for throwing away a 4-year relationship because she said no, and that I was being a big baby. She just needs some time. The other half of our friends aren't on my side, but they're not on hers either. I don't think I'm an a-hole for this. Did I overreact? Am I an a-hole? If so, how much more time am I supposed to give her? Edit. We had discussed marriage shortly before I proposed the first time. She was into it, and even told me that she couldn't see herself with anyone else. She seemed eager about the idea of marriage. This is why I was shocked the first time, and then angry at a second time. Now for the top comment. Not the a-hole. 4 years is plenty of time. You are perfectly right to move on. She cannot expect you to wait for her forever. She hasn't even given you a legitimate excuse as to why she can't. She's waiting for something better. I've seen it. This, she should have said why after the first refusal, but she didn't really give anything firm, leading to the second fiasco. Put the shoe on the other foot. Let's say she was the one wanting to get married and he was dragging his feet. They're 29. Everyone would be saying, "Dude, she's 29 and she can't wait forever. Propose or break up already." He did the right thing on a perfect timeline, age-wise. She lost out for whatever her reason. Anyone who gives him grief for walking away is the a-hole. He put himself out there and got rejected. I hope he walks away for good because the "fine, I'll marry you" is BS and should never be accepted. I hope he deserves to be someone's first choice. Definitely not the a-hole. The "fine, I'll marry you" is actually what really takes it over the edge for me. Because that tells me that she knows she's stringing him along. And the reason is, she's seeing if she can land someone better. Otherwise, why cave suddenly? If she needs more time genuinely and sincerely, then she'd stick by her guns and say, "This hurts." But yeah, I can see why you'd want to move on. Our timelines aren't matching up. But instead, her reaction is like, "I have a thing, but I was hoping for someone better. Now I'm going to lose the thing. Oh no!" Not the a-hole. You've spent enough time waiting. Move on. You'll be okay. And good job understanding that you can't wait forever. Not the a-hole. You read it right. If someone says no, and only when you show a willingness to walk away says, "Fine, I'll do it," that is not the one you want to have say yes. Heal up and move on. You were never quite what you wished she saw you as. Oh, and learn the lesson. Do not do a public proposal. Not after getting rejected once, not even if it's the first time. Not unless you talked about it in advance and you know she's going to say yes. The second proposal wasn't public. Our friends helped us set it up, but it was just her and I. I never liked the idea of public proposals, as I wouldn't want someone to say no and have everyone stare at me after. It sounds like you had the appropriate attitude toward both marriage and proposals. It's maybe an unpopular take, but I feel like if you don't know after 2 years that you want to marry someone, you're not going to ever want to marry them. Sometimes people acquiesce when push comes to shove, but that's not a path to happiness for either party. There's nothing stopping anyone from having a long engagement, so her saying straight up no a year apart really shows where she stands. Good for you holding loyal to yourself and not falling victim to the sunk cost fallacy. You definitely made a right call for your long-term happiness. Not the a-hole, and cheers to you, mate. Not the a-hole. If she wants to get married, she'd get engaged and have a long engagement. People do it all the time. I was in the no kids not getting married category. The second I started talking to my now husband, I knew he was different, and he'd been my life forever. In my mind, it was life partners. Then I got pregnant shortly after. Then 4 years in, he proposed. I was shocked. Then we didn't get married until 3 years later. It sounds like you're ready to settle down and she's not. It's painful, but you guys can love each other and not be in love. Next story. Am I the a-hole for rejecting my boyfriend's proposal because I'd lose my health insurance and alimony? I, 44 female, divorced my ex-husband, 47 male 2 years ago and have been dating my boyfriend, 45 male since. No cheating. My ex and I were fighting a lot, but the divorce was less litigious than expected. My ex-husband James and I were married for 21 years. And in the state of Massachusetts, I, as his ex-spouse, was able to stay on his group health insurance. In addition, the judge ordered that since I stayed home to raise our 4 kids, 21 male, 19 female, 18 male, and 16 male, that I get alimony for life or until I, only I, not my ex, remarried. In terms of health insurance, I'd lose it if either James or I remarried. However, James has been very open about the fact that he hates the idea of marriage or marrying again, even more than he hates me still be covered under his health insurance policy. His exact words were, "Well, lucky for you, it's not emotionally or financially cost-effective for me to marry, just to get you off my health insurance." For the entire length of our marriage, part of the reason I didn't work is because my ex is a doctor. And after doing calculations, we realized I'd never make enough to even get close to covering the child care costs for 4 kids. I checked and saw that if I had continued my administrative job, I'd be making $17 an hour today. I have no chance of making even that now. My boyfriend and I are very much in love. In many ways, I wish I'd met him first. He's empathetic, and unlike my ex, he values work-life balance instead of running between private practice and a psych ward at a county hospital to work 24/7. However, my boyfriend and I don't live together, and besides small presents to each other, we pay for ourselves. Things were good, but my boyfriend changed after I had a pregnancy scare. He said that if I get pregnant again, he wants us to be living under one roof and not like 2 divorced parents. So he proposed. I was upset, but I had to turn it down because, love aside, this was my health insurance, and only source of income on the line. I didn't understand why my boyfriend was so upset and didn't understand. He is a case manager at a nonprofit and would be living on half the income I'm currently living on if we take out child support, and that is bound to create tension on both sides. Am I the a-hole? Just want to add, we cannot move in together either, as the archaic family court laws would see that and assume that my boyfriend and I would be sharing finances, or I would be in some supported by my boyfriend by the fact of us moving in together. If I could move in together with him and not lose my benefits, we'd be doing so. I'm not trying to be a prick with this question, but what do you do all day? What are your future plans for when kids are out of the house? There's just way too much instability for my liking in this situation. My anxiety to rely on an unsustainable income would be through the roof, but you are not me. However, I would look for work for yourself, or else the burden would fall on your children to take care of you if something happens to your ex. Do you want that? In Massachusetts, she also gets a cut of his retirement funds. Since he's a doctor, she's likely all set. Jesus, don't get married in Massachusetts, I guess. Best way to avoid a divorce is not getting married. You better use that health insurance to get your tubes tied. Another baby is the last thing you need, especially at 44 plus. Mid-40s with 4 kids. Be done with it already. My mom was an older mom, 48 at a time. I've been raising my sister since she was 5. Her mother and father have both passed away. I buried my dad when he was 72 and I was 26. It wasn't enough time, and it's missed so much of my life and kids. Mom is now 90 and has been dealing with dementia for 10 years. Why haven't you started working, even though you're getting alimony? You could be working towards more independence, but rather be a cake eater in this situation. You're about to lose this dude, as you have shown him which you value more. Because she's getting a free check and health insurance, something millions of Americans struggle with. All these "you don't need a piece of paper to be in love" comments are ridiculous, and would switch their tone if it came down to simply not believing in marriage versus getting a free ride after the kids are raised and out of the house. She is 100% without a doubt the a-hole here. She dislikes the lack of work-life balance her ex-husband demonstrates, but enjoys the lifestyle it allows her to enjoy, to the point of rejecting a marriage proposal from her great love. A bit of cognitive dissonance there. I ain't saying but she ain't married to no slacker. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that being settled for isn't the worst thing in the world? My friend Anna and I were talking about her dating life. Anna is an incredibly beautiful woman, and she could have her pick of men. She broke up with her boyfriend because she was out of his league and he knew it. He would act in insecure ways. Anna stated that she didn't want to settle for someone less than the best. She asked me why would anyone settle, and brought up my marriage as a positive example of love. I told her that my husband settled for me, and he wasn't attracted to me, and we still had a happy marriage. Being settled for isn't the worst thing in the world. My husband Alan and I are happily married high school sweethearts. He was heavily bullied in middle and high school. When I moved into his hometown in sophomore year, I stood up for him. By the end of senior year, he had friends and he asked me to prom. 10 years later, we are happily married. However, I know that my husband doesn't find me attractive. I'm naturally taller and more muscular than the average woman. It's a huge insecurity of mine. A year after we married, my husband drunkenly confessed that he didn't find me attractive, that he prefers petite women with delicate facial features. But he was grateful for what I did and felt obligated to thank me, which is why he asked me out to prom, why we dated through college, why he proposed. He still loved me very much, but wasn't attracted to me. The next morning he was hungover and had forgotten his confession. He doesn't drink much because he doesn't have a filter and tells the unvarnished truth. I felt crushed, but our marriage was very good otherwise. I never told him what he said that night. He was a great husband, and I don't think most men are attracted to the way I look anyways. I explained this all to Anna, and she was grateful for the advice. That night, Alan started crying. He was crying silently, but I woke up. I hugged him and asked what was wrong, and he admitted he overheard our conversation. I didn't expect him to overhear since I was in the basement, but he heard his name and decided to listen in. I apologized for hurting his feelings, but it just made him sob harder. I don't know what I did wrong / if I did anything wrong. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I wasn't advising Anna to settle. She would never be happy settling for someone. I just told her that settling isn't the worst thing in the world, and my marriage is one of settlement. My husband settled for me and we're happy. My advice was to stay true to herself and her beliefs. If she's not happy, then the relationship can't move forward. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole, but you need to talk to your husband about this. Either he is really struggling with guilt about his confession, or is really triggering with unhappiness in this relationship. And either way, you two need to talk about it. Also, Hugh, you are a saint for dealing with that confession so gracefully. I have tried to talk to him about what he overheard. He has just started crying, sometimes even sobbing, and I just comforted him. I didn't want to hurt him more, so I've left the topic alone for now until he can tell me how he feels. I don't think he's unhappy in our relationship, but you never know. I wish I was a saint. It would probably hurt less, but I love my husband and didn't want to hurt him by bringing up his confession ever. I don't think you are the a-hole in this. Absolutely not in any way. But I am curious if your husband ended up talking to you about it? No, we haven't really gotten around to it. He's been down for the past few days, and any time I've tried to gently prod him, he started crying and I comforted him. I've decided to leave it alone until it feels comfortable to talk, but I feel guilty in case I did something wrong to hurt him that deeply. You didn't do anything wrong. You've handled this much more kindly and gracefully than is reasonable to expect from anyone. What he's going through right now is 100% about his feelings and nothing to do with anything you've done wrong. He may finally be processing what it means to both of you. For him to have felt that way, communicated it, then forgotten and lived with a secret that wasn't actually secret. There's probably sadness, grief for what could have been in a few different directions, guilt, shame, unworthiness of the love you offer. All sorts of feelings would be swirling. I saw in another comment that you plan to bring it up with him tomorrow. I would suggest that you actually give him notice tomorrow and ask him to set a time to discuss it so he can gather his thoughts. You could say something like, I've noticed you're struggling and you're resisting talking about this, but we need to talk it through. Whatever you're feeling about it, I want to know and I want to work through, whatever it means for us. Shown you that I'll still love you and be there for you since hearing it. Please be there for me and tell me what's happening for you. It doesn't have to be now, but we need to talk about it. Do you want to talk now or on Saturday afternoon, or whatever would be a suitable time that gives him a few days to think things through / gather his thoughts? Then when you've set a time, drop it fully until then. Go about your days. Don't try to comfort or discuss it unless he brings it up. Just let him process how he needs to. If he can't talk about it, you need to get into couples therapy with individual sessions first so he can get it all out without fears of hurting you more with poorly chosen words. Not the a-hole, but honestly, you deserve better than this. It's your call if you accept it, which you clearly have until now. But you're a beautiful soul, and someone out there would find you incredibly attractive. There are 8 billion of us. You're someone's cup of tea. Maybe it doesn't matter that much to you, but it isn't impossible. And you do deserve to feel desired and attractive.